What's up, you guys? I'm not amazing, I'm just mediocre. Welcome back to the channel and this Apex Legends video. Yesterday we had our Season 6 launch trailer release and all eyes were firmly on Rampart, the new legend coming for next season. But my eyes were firmly on this Giant Hammond Robotics Rocket ship and its curious use of giant rocket boosters. Because if we flash back 25 years into the past, we already know spaceships are fully capable of taking off the ground and flying into space without any help at all. You see, here we have the IMS Draconis, an IMC transport ship. And then here we see the IMS Draconis just straight up taking off into the air and flying into space. No giant rocket boosters required. So what's up with the giant rocket boosters? Before we get into the meat of the video, if you guys love Apex Legends lore and backstory as much as I do, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Breaking down the backstory of this game, its connections to Titanfall 2, and all the unexplored time frame in between has been one of my favorite things to do lately. And I also have a lot of theories about the future of Apex and how it might connect to Titanfall 3. I'd love to explore all this with you guys in the comments down below as well. But getting right here into my theories on what Hammond Robotics is doing with their giant spaceship on World's Edge. So we already established it's very strange to have a ship with rocket boosters pointing in space like an old school NASA blastoff, but we want to doubly establish that it's very strange to have a ship of this size at all. In the end of Titanfall 2, we see your standard evac ship that everybody uses to drop back into the game after being revived, zip into space, and then not only that, she tells the pilot to set a course to another planet. In the next scene, we also see them gently flying up to a different planet. So it's well established within the series that you don't need rocket boosters to fly into space and go between planets. So whatever this spaceship is, it's not to take us to Olympus. And so the fact that this spaceship is here does not exclude Olympus from being the next season's map. So fingers crossed, we're still going to get to go to Olympus for Season 6 of Apex Legends. But that does beg the question, if this giant spaceship isn't meant to take us to Olympus, then where is it bound for? Well, to answer that question, we have to go back to the ancient history of Apex Legends. Centuries ago, Hammond Robotics and the IMC asserted their dominance over a core system of planets through their rapid development of robotic military technology. But afterwards, they quickly ran out of resources to support the massive population, and so they sent out a giant fleet of colonizing ships to a promising area known as the Frontier. However, interest in the Frontier quickly waned, and they were essentially forgotten by the main forces of the IMC for hundreds of years. Later on, the IMC returned to check on the Frontier and found not only some colonies, but thriving planets full of resources for them to take, and essentially claimed us all as their own since they were the ones who sent the colonists there in the first place. However, those on the Frontier resisted this military takeover, saying they were the ones who spent hundreds of years developing all of this area as their own, and thus started the first Titan Wars. In fact, by the time we get to the events of Titanfall 1, these conflicts have already been going on for decades. However, during Titanfall 1 and 2, we find out that the IMC has lost contact with their main source of support in the core systems. They have been actually waiting for support for 3 to 5 years, and by the time of the Apex games, have actually been missing from the Frontier for over 20 years. When suddenly Hammond Robotics reappears on the scene after decades of absence, trying to assert a squeaky clean image and distance themselves as much as possible from the IMC they used to be associated with. They also bring with them the Planet Harvester, an absolutely massive machine whose sole purpose is to suck raw minerals out of a planet on an absolutely massive scale. Now I want you to take a quick look back at that Planet Harvester and then turn your head this direction back over to the spaceship that we just saw in the trailer. See how high it towers. It's at least twice as tall as the Planet Harvester. This spacecraft is absolutely massive. and I think it's actually holding all of the raw materials and resources the Planet Harvester has sucked out so far, and that its end destination will be the core systems and the bulk of the IMC. If you recall, Hammond Robotics has been without support from their main forces for literal decades, which is why it's taken them so long to rebuild themselves. And now they've gotten the ability to gather huge amounts of resources, and they want to get the attention of their main bulk of forces with the IMC headquarters back in the core systems. And I think that this ship is actually destined to go there. I actually believe everything that's happening in Apex Legends right now is leading up to the eventual future game of Titanfall 3. Just think about it. They're bringing back Hammond Robotics. They brought back characters from Titanfall 2 like Ash and Blisk, and they're continuously building this storyline. So this only makes sense to me that they're setting up for Titanfall 3 on the next generation systems. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like on it. It helps out the channel so much. And if you guys want to know why the IMC has been missing from the frontier for over 20 years, check the video on your screen right now. I'm not amazing, I'm just mediocre, and I'm out.